welcome back to my channel with a new video. That's like the third time I'm videotaping this because I'm working by the sunlight. It's kind of annoying, but I think the sun and the light is good for now. First of all, I want to thank all the new subscribers and the new people that commented and left really nice comments. Thank you so much. I want to introduce myself for you guys. My name is Nora, and I lived in Lebanon for almost 20 years, and then I moved to US for a few years, and then I go back and forth a lot from US to Lebanon. So of course my main home is Lebanon. I want to live permanently at some point in Lebanon, I hope so, but for now, because there's a huge crisis here, I go back and forth from Lebanon to US. So that's a brief introduction about myself. My channel is mostly about Lebanese people, how living here has been really bad, and I don't want to be the main focal point. I also want to portray how Lebanese people are living. So if you want to help Lebanese people, I'm going to put a link in the description down below. If you want to help Lebanese people, I want to help people here for sure. So thank you so much again, and I hope you're gonna stay in this channel and support this channel so people here can know more about Lebanese people and what they're going through. People in the comments were asking me about what was the reason for the crisis here, and yes, the people in charge. You're always gonna blame the people in charge no matter what. It is a fact. I know the people who support them are also to blame, but after all, you're gonna blame the people in charge for this. If you have a dying company, you're not gonna blame the employees, you're gonna blame the director himself or herself. So yeah, people in charge are the ones to blame at the end. I want to talk to you more about the people in charge here. I don't want to call them politicians because they're not politicians. I know politicians in general are known to be deceiving, to be corrupted sometimes, but in here it's pretty extreme. It's not just corruption, they're just being dictators at this point, being cult leaders. I don't want to call them politicians anymore. They're cult leaders and dictators. Example of really extreme dictators and cult leaders, you look at North Korea, of course. In here it's not as bad as North Korea, of course not, but it's pretty bad. It's been slowly getting there, and I'm scared that we'll be at this point sometime in the future. So all you want to look for in a dictator or cult leader, their charisma. They're usually very charismatic. They're gonna be, they just want to convince you to support them. They're gonna be very well spoken. They're gonna be calm in a lot of times unless something really bad happening to them, but most of the times they're gonna be very calm, very well spoken.
في كل شمال فلسطين محتلة أن يخلوا الأراضي. قد يكون.
This is one of the religious leaders in Lebanon. Notice how calm yet assertive he is with his hand motions, trying to captivate people. Sometimes he drops a smile to appear more approachable to people and showing them that he can be trusted. Very well put together most of the times. The more well put together you are, the better people will listen to you, will hear you out, will be convinced. So also, your image is very important to people. A lot of dictators are known to be narcissistic. They like to be in the spotlight. Of course, they're gonna be known to be in the spotlight all the time. They want to serve their ego. So how do they do that? Most of the times they're gonna plaster their faces all over the streets with posters. If not in TVs, you're gonna see them all the time in TVs and people talking about them. A lot of them would also say they're a bit psychopaths because they don't care about other people. They just use people as objects. They're gonna use them to get in on top. They don't care if you starve to death, for example here, for example in North Korea with Kim Jong-un, or his grandfather Kim Il-sung, or Stalin, or Mussolini, or Hitler, like all the dictators you want. Mao Zedong also, for example, he starved his people. He's known for starving his people with a great leap forward. You're gonna see their posters everywhere. Sadly, we have that in Lebanon. Their posters are all plastered around the streets. They talk about them all the time on TV. I'm gonna show you an example of a dictator's poster and our poster. You're gonna notice there's always a quote under it about how great they are, about how majestic they are. Okay, so I chose those two for a few reasons. The one on the left is Stalin, of course, a very known dictator, and the left is I would say so-called politician in Lebanon. I mean, it is normal to have your picture, of course, smiling for a poster to appease people, right? But I mean, all politicians do that. But what is written under those two is what is alarming. The Stalin one says, "Long live our teacher, our father, our leader, Comrade Stalin." And the one on the left says, "How can't you love him when he's the eighth, when the eighth wonder of the world is his smile?" So notice how both just describe them and how great and amazing they are without really offering any way on how they help the country or what they stand for. Usually politicians, like, main title states on how they're gonna serve the people, but in here it's not the case. They're just regarded as superior. To convince people, they have to brainwash people, because it's not the case, of course. They're not great, they're not majestic, they're not godlike, they're not immortal, so they're gonna brainwash you with posters, propaganda everywhere, to brainwash this idea into your head, to hammer this idea into your head that they're very important and you should vote for them and support them all the time. Propaganda is very, very, very important to cult leaders and dictators. Very. Because that's the only way they're gonna brainwash you. Also, another way to brainwash, they're gonna have songs about them. They're gonna have books about them, so you could get to know them, how good they are. And usually songs are very easy to memorize. They're gonna have songs about them, so you could easily memorize the song and how good they are. That's also very easy to brainwash someone with songs. And poems. Sadly, we have songs about some songs about our politicians and how great they are. Also, politicians do really, really care about the new generation. The new generation is, of course, the future of the country. They want the new generation to support them. That's why you're gonna see schools just for their politics, for themselves. We have schools for that. We have schools just to teach about how this leader is great and how you should support that, his politics and what he stands for. A lot of the times, if you look in the past, a lot of dictators would claim they stand for equality. For example, Stalin and who else? Like communism, equality between classes, right? That's a big thing in communism. Kim Il-sung also really cared about equality between classes, but it's not really the case. And in Lebanon, sadly, it's not about equality between classes, it's about religion. Sadly, in this country, we care a lot about religion. That's our doom. That's the worst thing that we have here. We care a lot about what your religion is. People will judge you by your religion, will treat you. They decide how they're going to treat you by religion, by your sect even. Each person is really holding tight to their community, to their religion. I go far away. Our president is Christian. What does he talk about all the time? The rights of Christians. He want to give the Christians their rights. It's always about the Christians. I mean, there's nothing wrong with supporting your own community, your own people. There's nothing wrong with that. But he has to know that Christians are just 40% of the population after all. And we have 60% of the population that is not Christian, maybe 55% of the population that is not Christian. So basically, what he's telling us that he doesn't care about the rest of the people here. But even so, let's say he cares about Christians. He doesn't really. It's just a way to get him on top. A lot of Christians do believe these lies, and that's why he's on top right now. Same with Muslims, Sunni and Shia. They have those ideas about their leaders protecting them in their own neighborhoods. So that's also a big issue in Lebanon, that we care about religion a lot. Every religion has their own neighborhoods, their own community. It's so tight. I like this fear of other people that belong to other religion, that maybe they're gonna hurt us or harm us or something like that. So I think in here it's a big issue, and that's what brought us to here, to people taking advantage of our fears. Most of them do have a very tight circle that is always obsessed with them and supporting them, but actually most of the people don't support them, but because they're afraid of them now. Most of the times when cult leaders and dictators do get on top and have so much power, a lot of the people that were supporting them are not supporting them anymore, but because they're afraid, because they have so much power on them, they're scared they're gonna hurt them. That's why they keep supporting them, and that's a big issue. That the factor of fear, they're playing with that because they hurt people in the past. And a lot of, if you see in the past, a lot of dictators, they have that notion of fear. They want to put fear in your hearts that if you don't support me, you're gonna be killed. Kim Jong-un right now does that. Like every dictator possible and cult leader possible, if you show signs of not supporting him or her or them anymore, they're gonna hurt you. Also, with the propaganda thing, you're gonna see a lot of street names named after them. Like the Nasrallah Street, for example, the Harir Street. I think there's a Bere Street, Nabih Bere Street in Sur. We have all that. It's also to boost their narcissistic trait. A very good thing you have to look for. They try to involve their family a lot. If you see in a lot of other dictators, for example, Kim Jong-un, he is the grandson of Kim Il-sung. It's always hereditary. Or also Duvalier, for example, that's the past president of Haiti. He also involved a lot of family. Sadly, that's what we have here. The country is in crisis, I would say, mainly because our president want to involve a family member, and he's doing everything to involve this person. And the country is going to shit because of that. It's like a kingdom, like kings and queens is like their own kingdom. They want to put whoever they want in the position they want. And a lot of the times they pretend they have so many votes. Like, I would say dictator Assad right now, like every time he has votes, like 99% for him. It's actually not true. Like no one has that many votes. You just need like 50%, 60% and you're fine. You can tell like they're narcissistic, they're cult leaders, they just want to boost their ego also by that. And a lot of them, of course, do live in a very big houses. I'm gonna show you how one person in the government lives right now. I'm gonna show you the guards that have their just plastered around the street just to protect him because he's so scared someone would kill him. Of course, I mean, if he's a bad person, he's gonna be scared for his life and he's gonna have so many guards protecting him. And also a sign, because they're so egotistic and narcissistic and all that, they never admit their fails. They always blame other people for their failures. They never take responsibility to anything. If anything, they're always doing the right thing. They're always doing a good job. They're always, because they're, you know, godlike. They don't do anything wrong. And in here, sadly, that's what we have. Always politicians do blame each other. Every time they die, for example, if you see, even their death is always so dramatic. Like, even they want to feel great in their death so people wouldn't forget them. It's like every time someone really important dies, or even if they die, you're gonna see even people acting like they're crying, but no one really cares actually. You can see that in when Kim Il-sung died, for example, or when Mao Zedong died, people were made to cry. It's always so dramatic. They're gonna have a huge graveyard or a huge monument for them, huge statues after they die. No one died here yet from the main cult leaders in Lebanon, but people under them have died before. And I'm gonna give you an example. A few days ago, we were in the graveyard visiting my dad, and we suddenly heard a lot of gunshots. It was actually someone in the government, kind of important, died, and there was so many gunshots that, because they wanted to commemorate his death or whatever, so there was so many gunshots that people got harmed because of it. So always their death is so dramatic and so too much. Even in death, they want to appear superior to you. Like I said, some of them do regard themselves as godlike or prophets or some deity being. And that's what we have here in Lebanon, sadly, too. One of them do regard himself as a prophet, I think. And a lot of people do support him, regarding him as a prophet. So I forgot to mention a very important point about dictators. Usually dictators stay for years and years in the same position till they die or get killed. So if we look at some so-called politicians in Lebanon, we can see many of them have been in the government for at least 10 years. One example, this guy again. He has been the Speaker of the Parliament since 1992, imagine. So almost, like 30 years, and no one has filled his position yet. This is a way to always be in control, and if you try to run against them, you will be either killed or threatened, or just bad idea. So this is a typical technique dictators use to stay in power. The whole country is all about a cult or cults. The country transforms into a huge cult group or cult groups, and that is the case, sadly, about Lebanon. A lot of people want to leave that cult, so what do? They leave the country. They're made to leave. Like me, like a few years back, I was made to leave. I felt like I was made to leave. That was the only way to leave this mentality. It was so toxic. I knew I wouldn't go anywhere unless I had support from those leaders, and I didn't want anything to do with them. That's why I left. And a lot of people now are leaving because they suddenly saw that after this crisis, and they suddenly felt that if they don't leave, they're always going to be involved in those cult groups. This is what we have here. Cult leaders and dictators. I gave so many examples of why I think there are dictators and cult leaders, and I think a lot of people do agree with me. sadly, this is how we live. We live to just feed their narcissistic trait. So that's our problem in Lebanon, are those color and dictators, and our second problem is religion. And if those two go away, I don't mean that religion needs to go away, but I think religion needs to stay in people's houses and homes. So yeah, that's everything I need to talk about today. Thank you for watching, and thank you for again, thank you for commenting and subscribing, and thank you for all the support. I hope I explained what was really wrong with this country, and I hope I shared a truthful image about what is happening here. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.